E aí rapaziada, beleza com vocês? Comigo tá tudo bem. Então, eu tava mexendo pelo YouTube e apareceu um vídeo que chamou muito minha atenção. How I Would Reboot the MCU. Enfim, né, vamos lá. Rapaziada, Avengers Doomsday tá tendo rumores, eu acho que realmente vai acontecer, de que vai acontecer um reboot depois desse filme. Depois, na verdade, de Avengers Secret Wars. Depois desse filme vai ter um reboot, ou pelo menos um soft reboot, que é rebootar só alguns personagens. Enfim, com isso, esse cara aqui, este meu amigo, ele postou um vídeo How I Would Reboot the MCU. Então, a gente vai assistir esse vídeo aqui. Infelizmente, esse vídeo está em inglês, né? E como todos os vídeos não tem legenda em português, né? Como sempre. Tá bom, então rapaziada, antes eu só queria agradecer a vocês que o canal tá indo bem, tá? Ó, 52 inscritos. Muito obrigado. Eu quero muito chegar nos 60, então já se inscreve aí embaixo antes do vídeo começar, tá? E cara, algo me surpreendeu. O último react que eu fiz, né, que é a melhor teoria de Avengers Doomsday, cara, ele deu muita visualização pros padrões do canal, tá? E eu quero agradecer a você que viu o vídeo. Se não viu, vai lá ver depois desse daqui. Enfim, e como o react deu certo, vamos fazer outro react, porque é o conteúdo mais vagabundo possível e que pelo visto tá dando view. Vamos lá? Rapaziada, depois eu explico o resto das coisas, né, sobre o documento. Vocês estão ligados, né, vocês que já são do canal, sobre o documento, as reviews de filme. Enfim, você que não tá ligado, seja muito bem-vindo, eu já explico sobre isso. Vamos assistir o vídeo.
So, Avengers Secret Wars is on its way. The culmination of everything that
Ai, calma aí, cara. Tá muito alto pra mim.
Marvel's been doing post-Endgame and its multiverse saga. With this movie's announcement and the introduction of characters like the X-Men and other mutants also in the pipeline, it's led to a lot of people expecting
Ai, cara.
mutants are no stranger to the comic book source
Eu
material.
não prestei atenção, rapaziada. Desculpa. Vamos voltar aí.
So,
Olha, Lego Marvel Super Heroes aqui no fundo aí. Pra quem não sabe, sou grande fã.
Secret Wars is on its way. The culmination of everything that Marvel's been doing post-Endgame and its multiverse saga. With this movie's announcement and the introduction of characters like the X-Men and other mutants also in the pipeline, it's led to a lot of people expecting the MCU to reboot itself.
Como eu disse, pessoas estão esperando pra o MCU ser rebutado. Daí agora ele vai falar, né, como a DC tá fazendo com o seu universo.
Are no stranger to the comic book source material. Even DC is doing their own cinematic restart.
Confia no pai.
James Gunn's DCU. The Marvel Cinematic Universe started all the way back in 2008, and after 16 years of stories, is it time for them to follow suit? And so today, I wanted to give my thoughts on a potential MCU reboot, and how I'd go about telling that story and setting up that world. Whether it be a soft reboot or a complete resetting of the timeline and starting from scratch, what should stay and what should go, what source material can you pull from, and how do you manage such...
Tá, então aqui ele tá falando, eu acho que de um soft reboot, porque ele tá falando de elementos que vão ficar e elementos que vão deixar de existir, na verdade que vão ser refeitos, enfim, whatever. Nossa, tô gringo hoje. Enfim, vamos continuar.
It's a big change for general audiences without alienating the existing stories and the cultural impact of the previous universe. If you ask me, it's simple. You cast Robert Downey Jr. as every single character.
Absolute gênios. Esse cara sabe. É só o Robert Downey Jr. ser todos os personagens, que é bilhão em todo filme. 2 bilhões em todo filme. Impressionante, cara. É só isso. Vamos continuar.
I mean, after Doom, I guess anything's possible, so like, why not?
Fanboy
This
Reviews.
is not gonna be the MCU is dying type of video. I've covered that concept a lot.
Ah não, o MCU tá morrendo. Na verdade ele falou que esse não é o tipo do vídeo.
There are more complicated factors to it that apply to the movie industry as a whole and not just Marvel. And honestly, I've come to realize that conversation, like, we have it all the time, and it doesn't really have a ton of weight to it, and it's just very reactionary. Discourse just made to draw in clicks and get you to read lazy, AI-generated articles that are just littered with ads. Which is why this video is brought to you by Pi. Pi is...
Aí não, cara. Aí não, né, meu irmão? Aqui é o Ed, é isso? Vamos pular. Pierre. Legal, muito legal. Interessadíssimo nisso. Cara, nada contra essa plataforma, né? Se quiser tá me patrocinando. Eu estou aceitando, tá? Continuemos.
just $1 a month. Further restrictions and the creatives involved, yada yada yada, we can hear all And so instead, I really want to focus in on just this idea of a reboot. Personally, I don't think the MCU needs a full-on reboot. I don't want to see just a return to the same stuff from 2008.
No lugar de um
With a fresh coat of paint. We're just now starting to get to see a lot of interesting legacy characters like Ms. Marvel and Sam Wilson's Captain America in the spotlight. Characters that I really love that it would be frustrating to throw that away and just go back to square one. Not to mention a full-on hard reset would likely overcomplicate things for more casual audiences and alienate new fans even more. We've seen it.
É verdade, porque rebootar tudo vai ser muito mais difícil pra pra quem assiste casualmente, tipo, vamos no cinema um dia? Vamos. Que filme tá passando? Tá passando o filme dos Vingadores? Vamos ver. Pra esse tipo de cara, vai ser estranho e difícil de entender que do nada resetou tudo mudou e, cara, é isso. Aceite, ponto final, sabe? Então, é melhor realmente ser um soft reboot.
The comics 100 times, namely when it comes to DC, who's become notorious for the reboots. What in theory seems like a good way to get people jumping on and interested in the stories actually does the opposite and alienates people. It's a band-aid solution that can lead to bigger issues, which is why newer initiatives like Rebirth and All In are focusing more on creative shakeups, new teams, and jumping on points instead of full-on resets. By the way, when I say casual audiences, if you clicked on this video, I am not talking about you. I'm talking about, like, my mom. The new
Oh, your mom.
DCU is looking to be fantastic, but that's only because the previous DC universe basically needed it after years and years of bad decisions and poor leadership. And I don't want that to be...
É verdade o que ele disse. O universo da DC precisava de um reboot. Na minha opinião, não tinha opção de não ter um reboot com o universo da DC. Tava horrível. Podia manter um personagem ou outro e não. Nenhum desses é a Gal Gadot como Mulher Maravilha. Sim, talvez, sei lá, Shazam do Zachary Levi. Nem ele. Todo mundo tinha que morrer mesmo nesse universo e partir pro próximo. O James Gunn tá certo. Se bem que ele manteve a Amanda Waller, né? E o Pacificador. Então o James Gunn tá errado. Esses aí também tinha que ir pro buraco.
become the norm. But the reality is, with Secret Wars and Doomsday, it's looking more and more likely that that's the direction that Marvel's headed in. I said that like the Costco guy. Like double chunk chocolate cookie. Whatever, that's not relevant. Never mind. And I will admit, you can't deny that after Avengers Endgame in 2019, the MCU as a whole hasn't really had...
Meu Deus, eu lembro a primeira vez que eu vi isso no cinema, cara. Eu pensei, o que eu tô fazendo da minha vida? E eu não tenho a resposta pra essa pergunta até hoje. Na verdade, eu estou... Cadê? Às 9h18, dentro do meu quarto, assistindo um vídeo onde aparece essa cara novamente. Essa é minha vida.
the same level of cultural impact that it used to. Sure, Spider-Man and Deadpool were huge, but those felt more MCU adjacent than anything, and that hype hasn't really been the same for the mainline stuff. Maybe it wasn't the best idea after all to name it Endgame. Just like in hindsight, you know? Now there's over a decade and a half worth of movies and TV shows that it can be kind of a daunting task to ask someone to get into. And not to mention, because of company politics and movie rights, this universe was forced to start without the rights to its heavy hitters, and now it's trying to work that mythos in after.
É verdade, o MCU, ele tava com pouquíssimos direitos pra fazer filmes na época, de personagens. Ele não tinha o Homem-Aranha, ele não tinha o Blade, que o Blade só foi entregado de volta pra Marvel Studios, se eu não me engano, em 2011. Ele não tinha o Hulk ele teve que negociar com a Universal. Ele não tinha os X-Men e o Quarteto Fantástico. Ele não pode até hoje fazer filmes com o Rei do Crime, então praticamente isso tira completamente o Demolidor da jogada, por causa de, enfim, briga judicial da Disney com a Sony, que o Rei do Crime é vilão do Homem-Aranha e do Demolidor. Cara, difícil, hein? Foi difícil. E imagina se o MCU tivesse começado com filmes dos X-Men, Quarteto Fantástico e Vingadores. O nível que ia estar agora. Cara, falando em Blade, nossa, vocês viram o vídeo que eu postei do Blade do Wesley Snipes? Mano, cara, eu amei esse filme. Eu amei. É o melhor filme de heróis que eu fiz a review até agora. Próximo vídeo que vai sair, acho que agora é uma boa oportunidade pra falar sobre o documento. Eu fiz um documento juntando todas as produções da Marvel até agora. né? Todas mesmo, até as que ainda vão sair. Cadê? Opa, tem muita página, rapaziada. Até as que ainda vão sair, eu juntei tudo num documento. E, enfim, né? Eu vou disponibilizar pra vocês quando o primeiro vídeo dessa playlist aqui der 100 visualizações. Essa playlist é algum desses reviews de filme. Se bater 100 visualizações, aí eu disponibilizo todos os vídeos pra vocês. Enfim, né? Eu tô fazendo review desses filmes. E, cara, Blade, como vocês podem ver, é melhor até agora. O Blade 2 eu já fiz review de X-Men e Hulk. É porque o Blade 2 eu me atrapalhei, tinha esquecido de pôr na lista. Então eu tive que dar uma voltada atrás, tá, rapaziada? É o próximo filme que eu vou fazer review, tá? Eu ainda não assisti ele, eu vou assistir assim que eu puder. Eu tô falando demais sobre isso, bora voltar pro vídeo.
And so that's the main thing I would want to focus on if I were to hypothetically start a new Marvel universe from scratch. For decades, the Marvel brand was held up by essentially 4 pillars: Spider-Man, X-Men, the Hulk, and Fantastic Four.
E isso ele tá falando sobre os quadrinhos, tá? Esses 4 são os 4 principais dos quadrinhos. E esses 4 principais a Marvel não podia usar no cinema, ela teve que se reinventar inteira.
While definitely a premier team, don't get me wrong, weren't nearly on that
É que, tipo, os Avengers, no universo da Marvel, dentro dos quadrinhos, dentro da lore, tá? Enfim, eles são muito mais importantes do que eles são pro público. Realmente, os Vingadores, no universo da Marvel, são os heróis mais poderosos da Terra. Só que, no mundo real, e também os mais influentes, batalhando com o Quarteto Fantástico, talvez, midiáticos, eu quero dizer, né? Influentes são os Illuminatis. E os mais famosos, com certeza, não são eles. São X-Men, Homem-Aranha, Quarteto Fantástico ou Hulk. Não é que nem... quando você... Não, ia usar um exemplo horrível. Enfim, mas tanto de criança que você vê com camisa do Homem-Aranha ou que você vê imitando o Hulk pela rua é bem maior do que alguém imitando um Vingador. Os dois são Vingadores. Enfim, vocês entenderam o que eu quero dizer.
same level. The book was originally created in 1963 by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby using a team of essentially failing comics at the time. Captain America was losing popularity after the war, and Iron Man was still pretty unknown, with Hulk and Thor being the biggest names to draw readers in. Over the years, the Avengers grew in popularity with some amazing stories, but it's not really a secret to say that they were seriously overshadowed by the massive success of their more popular peers. In the 90s, Marvel had serious financial problems, filing for bankruptcy in 1996. And so,
Tá, aqui ele vai contextualizar tudo, né? Que eu acabei de falar, Vingadores não eram famosos, Marvel vai passar por uma crise financeira nos anos 90 e vai ter que vender os direitos dos filmes dos personagens dela, o que vai acarretar, né, nos filmes do Homem-Aranha, do Blade, do Quarteto Fantástico, dos X-Men, enfim, filmes como esses. E o do Hulk de 2003. Falando nisso, cara, que filme horrível. Mano, o filme do Hulk de 2003 é muito ruim. Já fiz vídeo sobre ele, vai lá conferir. Isso aí. Sem perder tempo aqui.
they decided the best option was to license the movie rights to their characters off to various studios. Spider-Man went to Sony, Blade went to New Line Cinema, Hulk and Namor went to Universal, and X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Daredevil went to Fox. Some characters like Hulk, they share
É verdade, até o Daredevil, só que depois ele voltou pra... Enfim, tô falando demais.
the rights to, but others were sold off entirely. It was a decision that literally saved the company, but when 2008 rolled around, they were missing so many of their heavy hitter characters for their new
Por um segundo eu li outra coisa. Quem entendeu, entendeu.
cinematic universe. To put it bluntly, those limitations in company politics are the only reason that the MCU were a main focus in this universe. If they had the rights to Spider-Man and X-Men back in 2008, the whole landscape of the MCU would be totally different than it is today. We probably would have still gotten a Captain America movie, as he was still a pretty big name, but we might not have even seen Iron Man until the mid-2010s. Granted, I think that those limitations and the risk to use lesser-known characters is a huge reason why the MCU was able to thrive in the first place, but at the same time, it's something that I wish we'd kind of seen. A Marvel universe with essentially zero restriction. And so...
Cara, apesar de ser muito legal, eu acho que o universo da Marvel sem restrições, se acontecer agora, que tá acontecendo, e vai ser muito mais legal do que se tivesse acontecido em 2008. Porque em 2008 a Marvel não ia querer fazer filme do Homem de Ferro. Não ia querer... Quer dizer, querer ela poderia querer, sabe? Mas o que tá antes na fila da Marvel? É isso que a gente tem que pensar. X-Men, Homem-Aranha, Hulk, o filme do Wolverine, filme do Quarteto Fantástico, isso tá muito na frente de um filme do Homem de Ferro, de um filme do Homem-Formiga, de uma série do Gavião Arqueiro, de um filme do Shang-Chi, de um filme dos Eternos. Tá muito, muito, muito na frente, né? Então provavelmente os X-Men iam ser o centro do universo e com isso, agora, existem 3 grupos extremamente populares que a Marvel possui os direitos, que são X-Men, Quarteto Fantástico e Vingadores. Esses grupos são gigantes hoje em dia. E em 2008, eram só 2 que eram gigantes, que era o Quarteto Fantástico e os X-Men. Entendeu o que eu quero dizer? Agora eles têm mais personagem, mais mídia, mais tudo isso para trabalhar.
So, if we're going to be rebooting now with so many more characters at our disposal, this could be that chance to see what that might look like. If you were a kid during the early 2000s who was even remotely interested in superheroes, you've probably seen this before. This artwork is from a line of merchandise by...
Cara, essa arte, quem nunca viu, não teve infância. E essa arte é muito legal porque ela combina vários estilos diferentes. Ó, essa daqui do Homem-Aranha é bem realista, enquanto essa daqui da Emma Frost, se eu não me engano, é bem Caraca, eu tô tampando a Emma Frost, rapaziada. Aí. Enquanto essa da Emma Frost é bem quadrinhos, entendeu? Dá uma misturada nos estilos. Eu gosto disso. Se eu não me engano, no Island of Adventure vendia cartões postais até dessa arte. Mãe.
From 2003 to 2008, this art was everywhere. Toys, backpacks, lunchboxes, posters, fucking mac and cheese boxes, literally
Viu? Tava em todo lugar. Não sei porque que eu voltei.
everywhere. To me, growing up, this was Marvel. Before any movies or TV shows or video games, this was the art and the representation for these characters that I saw on a daily basis. It is 100%.
É, como se isso daqui fosse o base. Isso daqui fosse o que todos conhecem. Isso daqui é da onde você parte. Você gostando de Marvel, você não gostando de Marvel, você conhece essa arte. Agora, se você se aprofunda, você conhece outras coisas, enfim, vocês entenderam o que eu quis dizer.
My nostalgia talking, but
É como ponto base.
I honestly think it might be some of the most influential and iconic art for these characters this side of Jim Lee and Alex Ross. And it's a really great lens into what the priorities were for the company before the MCU and the Avengers hit big. This little speck is Scarlet Witch and Vision. Fucking Angel gets more screen real estate. And so in the perfect world, Marvel had complete control over all the...
Nossa, verdade. Cara, nessas artes de merchandising, o Arcanjo, Anjo? Acho que é Arcanjo. Tinha mais visibilidade do que a Feiticeira Escarlate e o Visão. Isso hoje em dia é impensável.
The characters' movie rights, that's what I would want to try and capture. My phase 1 would be a Spider-Man movie, an X-Men movie, a Fantastic Four movie, a Hulk movie, and a Daredevil movie. Maybe building up to the Avengers down the line with an Iron Man or a Captain America, but not making that team a big focal point just yet. Instead, having S.H.I.E.L.D. in the background, the stories focus on the street-level aspects and building out the identity of Marvel's New York. The Daily Bugle, the Baxter Building, Xavier's Mansion, Hell's Kitchen. I think the main appeal of something like the MCU is the idea of seeing that interconnected world.
O que ele tá querendo dizer, né? Uma coisa que eu peguei. Cara, é verdade o que ele tá querendo dizer. Me embolei todo agora. Só que se a Marvel tivesse os direitos do Quarteto Fantástico, dos X-Men, do Homem-Aranha, do Demolidor, a Nova York da Marvel seria muito mesmo, milhares de vezes mais rica do que é hoje em dia. Porque, tipo, hoje, sabe, a Nova York tá lá, legal, só que é igual, idêntica praticamente a Nova York do mundo real. Só que tem um prédio dos Vingadores. É basicamente isso. E o Santo Santoro. Só que o Santo Santoro é, tipo, sei lá, é edifício histórico, então é a mesma coisa. Cara, imagina agora se você conhece a fundo Hell's Kitchen, se tivesse o direito dos filmes do Blade também, né? Se tivesse o direito dos filmes do Blade, o subúrbio de Nova York é parte do terror da Marvel, as ruas como Homem-Aranha, a mansão, né, a parte mais, né, High Society dos X-Men, o Baxter Building do Quarteto Fantástico, ainda teria a Torre Stark, a Torre dos Vingadores, ou talvez melhor ainda a Mansão dos Vingadores, que eu acho mais legal que a Torre dos Vingadores particularmente. Ia ser muito mais rica Nova York. Não sei se o universo ia ser mais urbano, provavelmente sim, mas a Nova York ia ser muito mais rica. É porque a Marvel nos quadrinhos, ela mistura muito o universo urbano e o universo cósmico e o multiverso e enfim, um monte de coisa. Ou seja, o Homem-Aranha tá lá um dia tacando teia nos bandidos, pra no outro ter uma crise multiversal que ele tem que participar, porque ele é o herói mais famoso da Marvel. Você tá um dia salvando a bolsa de uma velhinha e no outro indo pro espaço enfrentar o Thanos. Num dia você tá impedindo o assalto a um civil qualquer, e no outro você tem que voltar no tempo pra salvar o mundo do Ultron. Entendeu? Isso é muito louco e é um conceito que eu acho que a Marvel falta explorar.
Where all of these heroes cross paths because they basically live down the street from one another. It can definitely get kind of cluttered in the comics, don't get me wrong, but I'd love to see that smaller scale, world outside your window vibe brought to life within the live action and put to the forefront. And that's honestly all this video could be, just reject modernity, embrace tradition for 20 minutes, and that'd probably be enough for most people, but I'm not most people. Also, I genuinely don't know how I can make that a whole video. The reality is, in a post-2008 world, and definitely after 2012 with how huge the first Avengers movie was, I don't think that something like that would really be possible. It's not the 90s or the early 2000s anymore. The Avengers are household names. Someone like Iron Man has risen the ranks from C-list to A-lister. And that roster of characters is arguably more well-known than even a lot of X-Men characters, thanks entirely to the cultural juggernaut that is the MCU. The juggernaut, bitch! And so it wouldn't really make sense to throw that away, even if post-2019 hasn't been exactly the same. Not to mention they still don't really have the rights to Spider-Man, and the whole deal with Sony is like a total mess that could honestly collapse at any moment. I think the more realistic plan is for Doomsday and Secret Wars to lead into a sort of soft reboot, which isn't too far.
O que eu disse? Soft reboot. Ai ai, como você se sente sabendo que eu estou certo e você está errado, meu caro espectador. Tô brincando, você tá sempre certo. Dá like e se inscreve.
From what happened to the source material. The original Secret Wars comic was a 12-issue event by Jim Shooter, Mike Zeck, and Bob Layton from 1984. It was about a being known as the Beyonder, transporting a group of heroes and villains to a planet called Battleworld, and forcing them to fight it out for his amusement. Also, Spider-Man stepped in some goop. I hope that doesn't become a problem later.
Cara, é muito legal pensar que a primeira vez que o traje preto do Homem-Aranha apareceu foi em Guerras Secretas, né? Será que vai aparecer? Eu acho que sim, tá? Se eu tiver um chute. Mas assim, Guerras Secretas não vai ser em... eu acho que ele nem vai aparecer em Doomsday.
Almost 30 years later, Jonathan Hickman and Hassan Ribic took that concept and elevated it with 2015's Secret Wars. Not only was it the culmination of Hickman's 6-year-long tenure for Fantastic Four and Avengers, it also made talking about these two books a fucking nightmare. The multiverse begins to collapse because of something called incursions, the collision of two universes, most notably the mainline 616 and Ultimate 1610 universes. In Doctor Doom getting the Beyonder's godlike power and ruling over a new patchwork battle world and ending in a face-off between him and Reed Richards. Oh god, I just remembered Robert Downey Jr. is gonna be Doctor Doom. I know I made a joke about it in the intro, but like every time I think about it, it's like I get punched in the gut. Right now.
Oxe, por que você não gosta? Eu acho que a melhor escolha pro Dr. Destino se chama Robert Downey Jr. Obviamente, pra tiro curto, né? Vão ser 2 filmes. Espero só com esse Dr. Doom pra depois a gente ter o Dr. Doom de verdade, que vai ser desenvolvido como rival do Reed Richards, essas coisas todas.
For this multiverse saga, I think it's pretty clear that they're setting up for something similar, blending those two ideas. That we're building to the incursions and the eventual fight for this world's survival. I wouldn't be surprised if the plot of Doomsday takes cues from Time Runs Out from Hickman's Avengers run, which was the lead up to the event and introduced the incursions, including the ethical implications that came from these heroes destroying entire universes to save their own. Just throw in like 50 unnecessary multiverse cameos and there's your movie right there. And with the Avengers in one universe,
Exatamente, o cara sabe.
the X-Men in another, and the Fantastic Four in another, I think the most likely outcome is that this big event movie is going to lead to those 3 worlds being merged together. Not necessarily a reboot or restarting anything by any means, but just taking those 3 timelines, smushing them all into one, and just moving forward from there. It's an idea that I don't necessarily hate in concept. I kind of like the idea of these 3 big pillars of Marvel existing in separate planes before colliding. That's actually kind of what happened with Miles Morales. He and the maker, the Ultimate Reed Richards, were the only survivors from the Ultimate Universe, and his history sort of just got merged with 616 because he gave Molecule Man a cheeseburger. That was just one guy, so I'm not really sure how they'd go about two whole worlds, but I think that's going to be their excuse to introduce the X-Men and mutants as a whole into the universe. If you ask me, I think that they can totally fit into the MCU without rebooting or anything, and people are kind of overcomplicating that. I mean, they're basically already here, like with Ms. Marvel, Namor, and even Wanda to an extent, which is an idea that I will talk about more in an eventual X-Men video that I really want to make, because I got ideas about it that I really like and I'm really excited about. But it's a lot, and X-Men fans are very difficult to please. This sort of streams is kind of a messier way to go about all this, and it's part of the reason I'm not really huge on a reboot to begin with. But if the future movies end up putting the mutants and the Fantastic Four at the forefront, with Avengers movies every once in a while that aren't like huge event movies, that could still be really exciting. But if they end up doing a hard reboot, you know, resetting the timeline and fully starting over, that's kind of a big ask. It's not like DC where you can just have Jason Momoa yell at the camera and then move right on to Superman. The MCU is just such a different beast, and I think the best way to go about something of that magnitude is to make it a story thread. Not just a single multiverse movie that ends in a reboot, but a longer running narrative that can do more and be more than just a simple reset. And instead turning that idea into a commentary and a deep dive into what makes these characters special. I would have the Secret Wars movie more based on the 1984 original comic, with heroes and villains fighting it out on Battleworld for the Beyonder, with the promise of him granting their greatest desire if they win, but have the good guys lose. They're beaten by the villains. The Beyonder grants them their greatest wish, to rule a world without heroes. The movie ends with a blinding light. We cut to 15-year-old Peter Parker on a field trip to a science lab. A spider slowly descends from the ceiling and lands on him before a hand swings in and squashes it. And the Maker takes the spider and places it in a glass case as we enter the Ultimate Saga. The Marvel...
Caraca, o cara transcendeu agora. Não gostei, mas foi uma ótima ideia. Eu só preferia que fosse de outro jeito.
The universe began in 2000 with The Ultimate Spider-Man by Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley, and sparked an entirely new publication line, including Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Fantastic Four, and The Ultimates. This is not that, because that world was destroyed in Hickman's Secret Wars, and in 2023, the new Ultimate Universe was created, with a new Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Black Panther, and a new Ultimates. This follows Earth 6160, a world where the Maker and Evil Reed Richards went throughout time and prevented the world's greatest superheroes from ever being created. And not just that, he has a council of supervillains in the shadows, puppeteering governments and organized crime throughout the world to maintain his control. Everybody's talking about Ultimate Spider-Man by Jonathan Hickman and Mark Ricchetto, and for good reason. It's a great book. It's such a breath of fresh air compared to other Spider-Man comics we've been getting for so long. But my favorite of this line has actually been The Ultimates by Dennis Gambino and Fagiri. This might honestly be the best Marvel comic in years. Not only is it a great superhero book and a great exploration of this Ultimate Universe, but it's such a radical and scathing critique of bigger social issues that apply to our real world. There are things being said and topics explored in this comic that I never in a million years would have expected to come from a big two publication. The second issue is about Captain America waking up from the ice and coming to terms with how America was systematically built upon violence and oppression and capital. Could you imagine if the MCU was able to capture even a fragment of that sauce? When translating these ideas into the movies, you could have it all be spearheaded by Doctor Doom, basically merging the new Ultimate stuff with 2015 Secret Wars. But the Maker is such a fun and interesting villain, and I'd love to see him get the spotlight. If they wanted to be really cool in their big multiverse fest, they could bring back Miles Teller's Mr. Fantastic and do a twist where he went evil between movies and became the Maker, and he becomes the villain for the saga.
Para que quer fazer da história se torne o vilão de uma saga, né?
Genuinely, I don't really care about a lot of these multiverse cameos, but that one needs to happen. Like it'd be too good. And so this
Ele pode aparecer, mas ele não pode ser o vilão, pelo amor de Deus. Vocês já assistiram esse filme alguma vez na sua vida? Se não, não assista, tá? Eu ainda vou fazer review dele, só vai demorar um pouco, porque como vocês sabem, tem muita coisa pela frente.
Ultimate Saga would sort of be like a mix between the original Phase 1 and the first half of Endgame. We established that they have 3 years to prepare and fight the Maker. And with each movie, we introduce each character to this new Ultimates team and explore this twisted world a little bit more, before eventually building up to this final showdown and leading to that more traditional reboot. But now, after this whole saga, it would feel like we earned it. For now, Tony Stark is 19, his dad Howard is still alive, and was the one who first built the Iron Man armor. You can take inspiration from not just the Ultimate Universe, which is doing some really interesting stuff as him like potentially being Kang in the future, but also from Iron Man Armored Adventures, which was a super underrated show. Steve Rogers is still lost in the ice and is only now just being recently uncovered. Peter Parker is in his mid-30s, married with kids, and is now just starting to be Spider-Man after actively choosing it.
Pra que deixar o Peter Parker com 30 anos, cara? Pra quê? Cara, o que eu penso sobre o Peter Parker. Ele, como personagem, tem que evoluir, né? Então, ele tem que sair do ponto A pro ponto B como todo personagem. O problema é que a Marvel tem medo disso. Até nos quadrinhos. Os quadrinhos existiu toda uma história até Guerra Civil 2. Se eu não me engano, Guerra Civil 2. Peter Parker começa de um adolescente, vai pra faculdade, se forma, trabalha, casa com a Mary Jane, tem filhos. É uma história e ele evolui. Agora, se você começa com ele casado, com o filho, com a Mary Jane, o que ele vai evoluir, cara? Já vai ser um Homem-Aranha experiente. Não. Ele vai continuar sendo o mesmo cara. Não. Tá errado, ele tem que evoluir. Você acha que a Marvel vai deixar... foram 16 anos de MCU até agora. Você não acha que ela não vai querer mais 16 antes de rebutar? Não, ela não vai querer mais 16, ela vai querer mais 20, mais 30 antes de rebutar de novo. Se o Spider-Man começa com 30, ele termina com 60. Não. Isso sem contar que normalmente os atores são mais velhos. Então, o Spider-Man de 30 teria o ator de 37, ele terminaria o MCU com 70 anos. MCU 2, por 70 anos. Não.
Some of these changes could just be temporary, but some of them could end up being permanent in ways to introduce audiences to newer and younger versions of the characters for the future. Like, I think having an adult Peter in the movies would be such a refreshing and nice change of pace from how high school focused the character's been for decades. And it could be fun to flip the Peter-Tony relationship on its head like that. And maybe now that we have an older Peter, it could eventually lead to Miles showing up. Ultimates is also introducing not just variations of existing characters.
É verdade, se tiver o Miles, ele tem um ponto. Só que daí o Peter teria que morrer, tá? E morrer em pouco tempo. Tipo, fazer 2 filmes do Peter Parker. Tchau. Fora. Morre. Não dá, cara. Infelizmente.
Like the Thor, who's a prisoner of Asgard, but also some radically different interpretations, like She-Hulk, who's the victim of nuclear bomb testing, or a Native American Hawkeye who blows up oil rigs with their arrows. There's also a version of Reed Richards who the maker basically traumatized so much that he's a broken shell of a man and wears a Doctor Doom mask, which... still better than Robert Downey Jr. Now, these comics are super new. I mean, Ultimate Spider-Man is only 10 issues in, and it might be too soon to translate them to the movies, but we've seen fast adaptations before, like with Kick-Ass, which was filmed before the comic even finished and turned out a million times better than the book did. And I think it could be such a fun experiment to see these movies take so strongly from a new era of comics that have such a clear place to start for new readers, and in theory, push them even harder with the adaptations. Plus, the MCU's already taken a lot of inspiration from the old Ultimate Universe, so why not pull from this new one too? One set of characters that I really want to see get a spotlight is Janet Van Dyne and Hank Pym. I think that Scott Lang is a great character, and I love Paul Rudd in one Ant-Man movie, but Hank and Janet are such pivotal Marvel characters that haven't really been given the spotlight that they...
Isso é verdade, cara. Hank Pym cara, tem que estar. E não pode ser o Michael Douglas, velho, lá, sentado, fazendo nada, sendo sou cientista milionário. Não, cara, ele tem que ser o Homem-Formiga. Não sei se tá claro, mas eu odeio Paul Rudd.
Janet especially is essentially the heart and soul of the Avengers team, the glue that holds them together, and it was crazy to me that they just cast her aside. And so a potential reboot is the chance to amend that. And this saga could also open the door for the mutants to get a spotlight. Ultimate X-Men by Peach Momoko is amazing so far. She's really leaning into the horror elements and focusing on the smaller scale, but you could use this to introduce something a bit more classic too. Maybe the maker overlooked them, didn't realize that they existed. And now, without the other heroes of the world, that's had the spotlight thrust upon mutant kind as a whole, whether they want it or not, and all the bigotry that comes with that, leading to the formation of the X-Men. And there could be this sort of false hope that maybe in a world not ruled by the maker, mutants could live freely. The thing that I really like the most about this Ultimate Universe is this feeling of rebellion. Something was literally taken from these characters, and the world is worse off because of it, and they're fighting to take it back. There's something so gratifying about all these characters who are normally at the top of the totem pole becoming underdogs and forced to claw their way back. And so when this saga is over and we end up getting the more traditional Marvel reboot, it's more satisfying because we feel like we actually earned that and fought for it instead of just rebooting for reboot's sake. When the MCU was first created, it was kind of revolutionary. not just for its interconnected nature, but also for the scope of the whole thing in the long term. We're not used to movie franchises spanning 40 or 50 movies. Most are usually lucky to get to 4. The only things really comparable are James Bond and Godzilla, which are more anthology than anything, or Fast and Furious of all things. But comics are a long-form medium with essentially infinite stories. These characters have more in common with a trashy soap opera that's been on for 20 years than they do your average action hero. Marvel especially has characters that have literally 60 years worth of continued stories. They've managed to maintain this universe and this timeline for the most part the same for all these years. It's part of what makes getting into comics such a daunting task, but also what gives them their identity and what makes them so rewarding. Any Doctor Who fan will tell you that that's part of the charm of these long-running narratives. And we've seen in the past that an attempt to reboot and start fresh has potential to work and bring in new and old audiences alike, but it also has potential to cause even bigger problems down the line, alienating the people who fell in love with the world and the characters in the first place. These are movies based on comic books, and one of the biggest strengths about the medium is the ability to reinvent themselves and evolve, to give creators and people with a vision the tools and the resources to take these characters in bold new directions and breathe new life into these stories. So we can repeat the mistakes of the comics industry and reboot, keep slapping a band-aid on it over and over again until the world dies of a heat death from the sun. Or we can learn from those mistakes, grow, innovate, roll with the punches, and keep moving forward. But do you think the MCU needs a reboot, and what would be your phase 1 if you could start this universe from scratch? If you liked this video, be sure to like button and subscribe. Special thanks.
Vou deixar o like. Sempre deixo o like nos vídeos, né, rapaziada? Só não deixei no último react, porque, pelo amor de Deus, aquele cara lá tava chapado. Meu Deus. Tablet, YouTube, pelo visto, não tá me deixando dar like. Então, vou fazer o quê?
Also the Sting, Ans, News45, Capboy, Cassidy, Caroline Brenneman, Chicken McDoofus, Dan.
Tá bom, é isso. Valeu, cara. Vamos ver se assim dá pra dar like. Tá, eu simplesmente estou impedido de dar like. Então, vocês estão vendo aí, a culpa não é minha. Rapaziada, se inscreve no canal, deixa o like. Vocês já sabem, né, de tudo isso. Primeiro vídeo que bater 100 visualizações da playlist comentando sobre, sobre os filmes da Marvel. Vocês já sabem, cara, eu vou disponibilizar o documento para vocês poderem usar. Então, já manda para seus amigos, né? Assiste de novo os vídeos que você já assistiu e gostou. Valeu, até a próxima, rapaziada. E, cara, muito obrigado porque o canal tá crescendo bastante. Tô muito agradecido, tá? Valeu, falou e até a próxima. Tchau, tchau.